Kyle Tucker signed a 4-year, $240 million contract with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
That is $60 million a year, folks.
That's how the math would add up. Yeah.
That is a ton of money for Kyle Tucker. Now, he's obviously a great player. Okay, 28 years old. He's entering his age 29 season. He's got a career 865 OPS. He had a down year last year and still had an 841 OPS. The kid is clearly a stud. There is no doubt in my mind that we are headed towards a lockout in 2027. The question about the lockout, I think, is more about whether or not we're going to actually play baseball that year. I believe the Dodger payroll heading into this season before tax will be $420 million. I mean, that is just an absurd number. Here's the thing. I don't know that there will be a salary cap in baseball. I don't know that there should be a salary cap in baseball. What I do know is that the owners are going to fight tooth and nail to have a salary cap, and the players are going to vehemently deny it. They are going to fight against it. They've been fighting against it for years and years and years because it limits their opportunities to get paid, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the thing about baseball. There are a lot of people that are throwing out there that the Dodgers are ruining baseball, right? They signed Ohtani to that $700 million contract, which was deferred 10 years out, right? So the present day value is like 20 years of $440 million. So the cap number is 44 million or something along those lines, whatever. So, but that gave them the ability, to go out and sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto to the largest contract ever for a pitcher, to sign Kyle Tucker to this ridiculous AAV deal, to go sign Blake Snell last offseason to that large deal. The Dodgers are bigger and better and smarter than everybody else, and that is no question about it. But that's kind of easy to do when you're owned by a group worth billions and billions of dollars, and you throw money into your franchise that is not technically baseball related. So my question about baseball simply is this: is baseball becoming too rich of a sport for regular owners to play? Because the teams that you see at the top of the market are always the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Blue Jays, all owned, Steve Cohen the exception because he's just a mega billionaire already, but the Guggenheim Group and the Rogers Entertainment Group, or whatever they are multi-billion-dollar corporations that are funding these teams. And they are becoming very, very expensive and very, very it is isolating a lot of teams. Now, this has been an issue in baseball for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to pretend like I know everything about baseball finances. I don't. You shouldn't either. I'm not going to be totally pro owner or totally pro player on this whole thing. I'm not in the business of doing that. But I'm not going to pretend like every single thing that happens in baseball is because some owners are willing to spend and some owners simply are not. I don't think that's the reality of the business. I think that's a one-sided way of thinking.
Yeah.
I just do. There's no way for a team like the Miami Marlins, who are owned by a $100 million whatever, like they're owned by very, very rich people, but there's 8,000 people that go to their games and they have a 53,000 seat stadium. They can't spend $60 million a year on Kyle Tucker. So I get this whole thing. I know we're headed towards a lockout. I know for a fact that this is going to be a big issue presented in baseball. I don't know that the Dodgers are ruining baseball. I don't think that they are. But there is clearly a system here that is broken to where, there's got to be something done here. There has to be. Because this is just the nature of that beast is not good for the sport.
It is fascinating to be a sports fan in Los Angeles right now. Because over the last several days, while, you got, talk about the Rams, Charger season ended, got the Lakers being the Lakers, Clippers having a resurgence, but all LA Sports Radio was talking about is Kyle Tucker. And the Dodgers did it again. Oh my God, we're gonna win the championship again. This is amazing. It's great to be a Dodger. It's great to be a Dodger fan. Blah, 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 blah. And it certainly is great to be a Dodger fan. I mean, it's great to be a fan of any team when you're the defending champion, let alone have the best player in baseball, let alone have the highest payroll by a mile in baseball. But so, I'm looking at this, and I've always been a big numbers guy in anything. So I looked at this. So at the time the Dodgers signed Kyle Tucker, at that point, including deferred money, the Dodgers' guaranteed salary, and this was all reported by Sport Track, their guaranteed salary at the time they signed Kyle Tucker was just over $2.1 billion on their payroll for their roster.
Yeah.
The Athletics, Brewers, Rockies, Reds, Tigers, Pirates, Twins, Guardians, Nationals, Cardinals, White Sox, Marlins, and Rays combine for $1.9 billion.
Yeah.
The Dodgers' payroll is roughly $200 million more than 13 teams combined.
And let me just emphasize that for a second, because $200 million is a team that spends money on a season.
And $200 million is more money than what 11 of those 13 teams are spending.
Yeah.
Actually, it's just under Milwaukee for 12. Now, there are arguments with, well, some teams can pull off because Milwaukee Brewers had a fantastic season. They fought, in the playoffs and stuff like that, and they're one of the lowest payrolls. Yeah, it happens, and they will compete. And once in a while, the team will win. But it's not longevity. It doesn't build the confidence that your franchise is doing something to try to make your team better.
Right.
And in addition, in those bottom 13 teams as far as the payroll, two of them, Detroit and Washington, their owners, the Ilitch family,
yeah,
and the Lerner family, are two of the 10 richest owners in baseball.
Right.
And they're in the bottom 12 on payroll on the teams.
Yeah.
So then it goes to what you're saying. Will the owners spend the money or not? Because obviously some do, and clearly some don't. So when I hear in LA from Dodger fans, we're only doing this because we have to still compete. Well, the other owners won't spend the money. But some of these teams still do well, even if they're not spending the money. Are these true? To an extent. But there's also still, when they're able to do what they're doing, it's not fair to. I mean, I know fair is not the right word here. But it's not ethical when it comes to trying to build a sport and build fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
You're suddenly trying to build a monopoly of just one team. And I don't know if with this lockout, if getting rid of like the deferred option was something that could work for this. Would the salary cap work for this? Probably not. Would a salary minimum work for this? Probably not. So it's crazy how baseball contracts are kind of broken. And yeah, did something like this kind of happen back in the day with the Yankees running dominance? Yes, but not even necessarily to this extent.
No.
And I don't mean as far as them spending as much money as the Dodgers, because obviously you know the inflation of 25, 30 years. I'm not talking about that. But the amount of teams that are still not spending any money.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you have teams that are the Mets, spend money. The Blue Jays are spending money. The Padres are spending money. The Dodgers obviously are spending money. But when you have half the league is just not trying to spend money.
Right.
All that does is ruin fan bases.
Yeah.
Because, these Tampa fan base, Miami fan base, the White Sox fan base, and they have a fan base. The Cardinals have a fan base. And they're the fourth lowest payroll in baseball. Pittsburgh, we know they've always been towards the bottom. Cleveland. These are not just like little ho-hum cities with little expansion teams that are trying to build into this franchise or build a franchise into this league. These are long-standing, some very successful franchises.
Right.
That they're, whether it's because of their owner or what, they just don't feel like trying. And if you're not going to try for your fans, why should they show up and fill up that 50-something seat arena that you were describing with Miami? Mm-hmm. Why would I bother showing up if my team's not going to try to produce?
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly a broken system. It is. Look, I think when it comes to the Dodgers in particular, not all of their success is tied to spending money. I want to make that clear, right? They have been so good in playing.
Because they have the number one farm system, too.
They have the number one farm system in baseball. They have the highest payroll in baseball, right? Andrew Friedman is a genius when it comes to building a roster and putting a team together. I mean, he's an absolute genius when it comes to that, and he deserves all the credit for that. I do think that a lot needs to be said about how they've created such a culture and an environment that players want to go there, right? That needs to be said too. But again, it is the ability of this team to go out and do whatever they want and totally reset the market. I mean, like, here's what I think about when it comes to like, there's two signings that happened. It was Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers for $60 million. And it was Bo Bichette to the Mets for $42 million. And I was getting into a semi-argument with my co-host from my baseball show, Dalton Brown, Bi-Coastal Baseball. Well, that show will come back soon. But I was getting into a semi-argument with him only because I was saying, I mean, this is ridiculous because Bo Bichette is not a $42 million player. Kyle Tucker is not a $60 million player. Like, they're just not worth that. And he was saying to me, he said, well, I would argue that they are worth whatever the market is willing to pay. And yeah, that's true. But teams like the Dodgers and the Mets are not the market. They're
Right.
the outliers of the market. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's as big of a like. Here's the thing: I understand that some teams are not spending in the ways that they should, and in a lot of ways, I mean, you can make the argument like, yeah, they have such a low payroll. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, not just one, being that the owners are cheap, right? That's why I'm
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily for a salary floor when it comes to like you need to have this amount of money devoted to your payroll. I
Right.
just like because now you're just handing out bad contracts for the sake of hitting the quota. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's good for baseball either, because that I think just brings down bad teams more than it does level the playing field. I just don't think that
Mm-hmm.
you can do that. You're also then forcing players to make decisions of where they have to go, right? You're because in an ideal world, everybody and again, for this is what everybody thinks to be is the way to go. They look at this as like, well, there shouldn't really be a difference between a player wanting to go play for the Dodgers and a player wanting to go play for the Reds. Like, no, like most players would want to play for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
It's in Los Angeles. It's a historic franchise, right? The Reds, other than Big Red Machine, it's in Cincinnati. It's in cold weather. Like, they're going to go play for the Dodgers. Like, it's not like the players still have, like, they still have to want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like if you just throw the money at them, they'll go. It's not like if the Miami Marlins all of a sudden, well, maybe the Marlins are a bad example because of Miami, but I don't know. Let's throw out a team like the Seattle Mariners say, okay, we're just going to throw $400 million at Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker might still go to the Dodgers because it's Los Angeles, right? Because like it's those kinds of things that I think you have to factor in also. So
Yep.
I think that there's a real problem in baseball, and I don't even know if it's a solvable one, but I know a lot of people are aggravated with the nature of how free agency is done.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are pissed off that it takes forever for these guys to sign. I mean, the winter meetings were in early December, and Kyle Tucker, the biggest free agent on the market, didn't sign until the middle of January. I mean, that's a lot of time in between then. So listen, I know a lot of people are frustrated about this, and we're really going to see what happens with this in the next year, because this is I genuinely think that there's a chance that there's a real work stoppage in 2027. Like we are just not going
I
to
don't
play.
I don't think there's a chance. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I think it's 100% going to happen.
Yeah.
Because
It just depends on how long.
why would the Dodgers or Blue Jays or Mets or whatever's being pitched?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they sit there? Oh yeah, sure, let's do it. If they're able to get whoever they want, why would they want to stop?
Right. Because they're making money hand over fist with these guys anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.